Hey everyone, welcome to another Clean Machine Live. I'm Geoff Palmer, I'm CEO and founder of Clean Machine. And I have a special guest on today. We haven't done a guest in quite a while, but I have had the pleasure to be a guest on Bryan's show, Bryan from Real Men Eat Plants. Actually, a couple times. So really enjoyed him. And I'm honored to bring him on board here and have be a guest at our show. So Bryan has been an IT expert for over 20 years, and he's, of course, vegan. And I guess mashing up those two, like many people do, hey, let's combine our skill set with our passions and bring it all together in one place so that we can actually make a living doing what we love and what we feel good about contributing to society. That's a beautiful thing. So let me introduce you to Bryan Dennstedt. And here he is. Hey, Bryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Geoff, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to hang out with you on the other side of this.
Yes, it's nice that I could return the favor. And we've had some incredible conversations on Real Men Eat Plants. You brought together some really good hosts, very thought-provoking, and I love the diversity of different perspectives and ways of applying a plant-based diet, vegan lifestyle to, what they're doing, what they're active in, from cause-based or purpose-based businesses, like ours, Clean Machine, but also I love the fact that people can take almost anything, whatever it is you do, and veganize it somehow. Bring that plant-based ethic to it and make it part of business. Be successful in that. So kudos to you. So with a big active IT career for quite a while, why the big switch? Why Real Men Eat Plants? That's quite a jump.
Yeah, I mean, before I want to answer that question, but I did want to say I saw your post online the other day. So congratulations on 40 years of being vegan. I've got a long way to go, but I am jealous and kudos to you for that. I would say, I've been on my journey for about 13, 14 years now. I don't know, it starts to blend together. I got to pin down a date like you have, but I guess I've gone through a couple inflection points throughout my career. I rose up through the ranks as a developer first, and then as a manager and architect, and then into that C-suite as a chief technology officer, which I do, fractionally now. So I've worked for the big companies. I've worked for some small companies. I've been blessed to have an exit or two from some startups and stuff, and been doing fractional work quite a while. I really enjoy that technology angle, and it's been primarily in healthcare. So I've been able to see in like the healthcare spaces how the healthcare system works in the United States, how we're trying to use technology to bend the curves on cost or making the healthcare system better and easier to navigate, all those kinds of things. But when I really peel that onion back, and as I've gone deeper into the vegan world, it all starts back with diet and exercise way back at the beginning. So I'm like, now I'm in this inflection point of really trying to pivot my fractional career into fractional work or business work in general in the plant-based space. And so that's just where, like, if we can get out in front of them before you've spent 30 years eating greasy French fries or whatever it is that you're eating on that front, I think we can help reduce the cost on the healthcare system in a big way, and we'll live a happier, healthier life on so many levels. So,
well, I know personally I've been affected by that too, having lost both my parents and both my brothers at an early age, and seeing many people around me, people who thought they were healthy. And a friend just lost her husband, and they have 3 children, very young children.
Yeah.
Just a heart attack overnight. And it's like, gosh, I hate hearing that. Especially when we've got books out there like Dean Ornish's Reversing Heart Disease,
Right.
T. Colin Campbell's work, Mastering Diabetes guys, Cyrus, and them doing such amazing work showing these states are by and large
Hmm.
not for everybody, but for the vast majority of people, reversible.
Yes,
You know,
100%.
it's hard watching that. It's hard seeing friends and family around you suffer.
Yeah,
When you know they don't need to.
right. Yep.
Yet, especially with men,
Yes.
this seems to be a difficult conversation, even when it's clear you're offering information that is trying to help them not
Mhm.
suffer, not
That's right.
die.
Yeah. It's very, very true because like I was the chief technology officer at MD Live Telemedicine, one of the biggest telemedicine platforms out there. And we had those conversations around how the caretaker at home is the mom. The mom is the doctor of the house, basically. She's the one that's gonna say, hey, you know, you should go see a doctor for that, or let's stay home from school, or whatever we need to do on that front. So you would be surprised, you know, I don't know, that's kind of like my mission, I guess, is why I started Real Many Plants as a blog way back when. I just wanted to document my journey to show where I sort of plateaued and stuff throughout my journey onto vegan life. But now it's sort of flipped around, and it's just like we have to break down those barriers for the stubborn people, whether it's men or women for that matter, really, to just sort of say, look, come in and try this. You know, I like to tell it, and we were just talking about this before we started recording, just like, come in, try it out for whatever it is, 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, you know, just give it a try. You've probably been eating meat your whole life. I'm asking you to give me 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, and just give it an honest to goodness try. And you will see the benefits that you and I have both been reaping for years now. So,
Well, and I think part of the entrenched resistance comes from identity.
mhm.
The men meet and masculinity identity.
Yeah.
Um, and which is one of the reasons why I love that you named your podcast what you did.
Yes.
Because it's addressing it right at its core basis. The
Yep.
key process that is causing the resistance is this fear that has been indoctrinated and
Mhm.
entrenched by marketing companies out there
Yeah.
trying to sell fear. I
Mhm.
mean, we saw this on the women's side with the objectification of women. You are
Right.
nothing if you are not beautiful. That's why you need makeup. That's why you need a hairdo. That's why you
Mhm.
need breast implants. We've
Yeah.
seen this objectification and forced sense of skewed reality and value
Mhm.
in a person based on their gender, based on these specific things. But it's marketing. That is marketing to sell people on things. It's fear
Yep.
marketing.
Right.
But by God, this men's fear marketing is so entrenched.
But it's rampant. It's rampant in almost every aspect of our society, I think almost every place you look, you can see how extreme we've gotten in whatever that is. I was just watching a video earlier today on gum, you know, and most of the gum, probably 95% of the gum out there is owned by the candy companies, and it's just loaded up with the bioengineered and these, you know, in my opinion, cancer agents. But and so the guy was talking about this as a commercial of like, I've built the awesome perfect gum, and I forget the name of it, but you know, he's really gone and gotten the organic ingredients, and he's actually putting healthy things in that will help you in many, many ways. Just, you know, you want your fixation of your gum, you know. So I don't know, I think every area is ripe for us to explore. Like you said, how do we make it sustainable for the planet? How do we make it healthy for our human bodies? And
Yes.
how do we make it cruelty free? And like, to each their own. Let's you know, cause no harm but live harmoniously. So yeah, that should be our pillars for almost everything we do. And I can't see any human out there that doesn't sort of really understand that at some level, but they can't get past certain walls in their brain, right?
Yeah, but I mean, there are entrepreneurs out there that are really doing a good job of that, and we need to applaud them. And um, I think we've gone through a little bubble, and maybe I know we've talked about this where plant-based analog meats and stuff took the forefront, and that was an attempt to say, hey, okay, guys, if you're so used to doing meat, let's make something as close to the meat that you've been tasting, looks like it, smells like it, melts like it, tastes like it, satiates, gives you the protein that you think you need, all of that, so it make it easier for you to adjust. But I think in doing so, we lost sight of the health aspect, and then the negative sides, the meat and dairy industry, who are losing sales to this, that opened them up for attacks.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, look how unhealthy that is. That's a bunch of ultra processed foods, they were calling it. So I think there's been a new, and I think Beyond Meat just relaunched, drastically reducing its saturated fat, cutting out some of the processing, making it more whole food, making it more, but trying to maintain and get as close to that great taste and profile to make it easy. So I think the bubble was there. There was the plant-based gold rush happened for a little while, and then it went into a little nosespin as the companies that were hurt by that boom started striking back.
And I had so one of the other podcasts that I run as part of Real Men Eat Plants is a Plant-Based on Fire, where I do interview these business owners that are pushing into this space wholeheartedly. And it's so interesting because I had such an amazing conversation with, it was, I think, Paul Shapiro with the Better Meat Company. And he's doing the mushroom mycelium oriented meats. And, but just like you think about the thing that really resonated with me in that conversation is how he's like, look, how did we end horse abuse? We invented the car. You know what I mean? Like, how did we end duck abuse? Well, we invented the fountain pen. You know what I mean? Like, you look back at that, how do we end whale hunting? We invented electricity, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So there's been these technology movements throughout history that have helped end massive amounts of animal suffering and bettered society. So while I agree, everybody needs to start their victory garden in the backyard and grow more kale. Not everybody can do that. And it is a mindset. I think it's going to take a couple generations, unfortunately, but like we do have to find those ways to pivot. And if it's, if we have to have one generation that eats the fake meat and then they get back to the vegetables and the next, I don't know. So I'm looking for the greater good of all of society, but the people that really dig into the science, I think a little bit more, you go way deep in that more than me, but I know kale is 10 times better for me than whatever burger alternatives that are out there.
So when you conceived of Real Men Eat Plants and also Plant-Based on Fire, what were your thoughts? Where did you want it to? Where's your vision for this? What are your goals in achieving with these podcasts? Where do you want to take it? Where do you hope to see it in a few years?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I put out there like my longer term, big, huge vision. I have a strong business acumen, and I really want to build some sort of startup fund or an investment fund as my longer term goal. And I'm like, well, in order to do that, I need to put in my money, but I need to find some other people that have got some money someplace. And we all need to join forces and say, look, Bryan's got a good head on his shoulders. He'll help us vet these companies. And so it was a blog at first. And then I'm like, well, why don't I turn it into a 30-day challenge and challenge men and anybody in general to sign up for a 30-day challenge. So you can see that on the website. But then I started getting a couple of guest bloggers with me. And then Rich decided to jump in and help us launch the podcast. And then it's just sort of pivoted and evolved since there. So now I kind of see like the podcast as this platform to meet awesome, amazing friends and fellow business people like you, and just go deep into the plant-based world that's there and make a whole bunch of friends. And we're just slowly growing that. We're spreading awareness. We've we've had a couple semi-viral videos online, kind of a thing, and it's interesting the polarization of the pro meat and the anti meat, and people colliding on some of these videos that go viral with the comment section. So it's interesting, but like I look at it as either way, good or bad comments, we're causing a dialogue to happen that, in my opinion, desperately needs to happen, because I feel like the climate change is a big piece of it for me. Like we've got to fix some of these things. So which spawned this other idea of creating plants versus meat as a podcast. So that's one of the other podcasts that we're running. And I'm looking for people that want to come have a very healthy, friendly debate, even like, what you and I are having, to just sort of open up the dialogue and talk about this important topic of what we put in our body matters. Every time we go to the grocery store, we're voting with our wallet and our mouth, on every level. And we all need to be the change we want to see in the world.
So obviously, I love the idea of men versus men and meat versus men and plants.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if that the polarization is dialogue, or is it just biased confirmation?
It's definitely both. I can definitely see both sides of that. I mean, everybody comes to it approaching it from a different angle, I think, but like the conversation needs to happen, right? I mean, are electric cars good for us or not? I mean, they take a tremendous amount of lithium and copper, compared to a regular vehicle. Like you can have this debate on almost any topic here, but I feel like you get 10 people in a room, and 10 people can come up with the right answer to the Jeopardy question every single time. And
Right.
so it's that 80-20 rule. Like we're not going to ever make everybody happy. And while I certainly hope everybody on the planet goes vegan, I'm not expecting that to realistically happen. But like 80% of us have to get together and lock arms and change the world. So we have to start that dialogue and put it out there, right? Without global warming as the word, 15, 20 years ago, it wouldn't have started this conversation. Now it's climate change. And I feel like there's this tipping point finally in the dialogue and the conversation that animal agriculture is one of the leading contributors to climate change. And we've got to figure this out. We can't be deforesting the Amazon just for more cattle. We've got to figure this out.
Yeah, and with the hottest record on year last year, and and the huge swaths of die-off in the ocean because of the warming of the seas.
Yeah,
we're at the tipping point of catastrophic results coming soon. So it's something. People say, "Oh, well, it's planes, trains, and automobiles," and I'm like, "Okay, well, that's a contributor, but are we going to be able? Can we stop that tomorrow?"
Right.
No, it just can't stop, because we need it for food. We need it for information diversification. We need it for lots of different other reasons. Do we need to make some changes? Absolutely, 100%. But any of us can stop eating animals today.
Yeah.
So that is an immediate change we can do, and we can all do, and it doesn't require anybody else's, and it doesn't require new technology. It's here. It's now. It's available.
And
yes, if a lot of people change all at once, it's gonna mess up the supply chain a bit, and there's gonna be problems, but those can be worked through.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, you watch a couple of these movies that are out there now, and I have a strong fear that we're going to strip the oceans of every living thing by 2050, and that's going to cause a systemic collapse. But like, it's, I even say like, okay, fine. Like, I really wish that you at least eat vegan 1 or 2 days a week, like start someplace.
Right.
But at the same time, like, look at everything that you do. Can you recycle that bottle, please? Can you take one tissue when you go to the bathroom to dry your hands instead of 12? You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
one way you can affect the change. Like just you only need one tissue. You will leave the bathroom with your hands slightly damp, and I promise by the time you get to your seat, they'll be dry. Right?
Exactly.
Like take one tissue. Or when the waiter comes with the straws, say no, thank you. I don't want a straw. I think Florida has finally said paper straws, right? But
Right.
North Carolina, where I am, they haven't. And it's like, so no, please take the straw back. I don't want the straw. You know what I mean? So we have to look for every opportunity that we can to make an impact.
And just being, like you said, or referring to, just being conscious of our connection and our contribution. We're so detached. We're detached from the food. It becomes in a box or a pretty package, and it's all done. So we're detached from the whole process of that food, where it came from, how it's processed. All of that is just, just not even in our consciousness, not in our forethought.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think we need to start to do some reconnecting. I mean, that's what caused my shift, which was an emotional reconnection. I was in a fighting depression because I was so hurt from losing my father at 18 years of age, that I pulled all my emotions in and kind of buried them just to try to dull the pain.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was disconnecting from everything when I was doing that. I was even disconnecting to myself, and it was a downward spiral of depression. And I don't want that for anybody else. I was thankful enough that somebody talked me back into that and showed me that you can move through that pain and come out the other side and be whole again.
That's right.
I thought I was going to die from depression. I, attempted to take my life a couple times, but what we're living in right now, the vast majority of people are mildly depressed because they're so disconnected. They're disconnected from what they eat. They're disconnected from what's happening to their body. Why is this happening to me? God, why are you doing this to me? No, it's not God, it's you. You're the one doing this to you. And we have the science to prove that now.
That's right. That's right.
So it's just that reconnection. And I want to, I'm glad there's podcasts like yourself where this dynamic conversation can take place, where people can share how they're getting reconnected to life, reconnected to themselves, and the food that they're eating, their relationship to the environment. We gotta get connected again.
That's right. Yeah. And that's where I everybody has their different living situations and stuff. But as a person who sits behind the computer all day long and in these little tiny video boxes that we're living in now, I find it so refreshing to just get up and go into the kitchen and cook something. Take those raw ingredients and make something amazing. I did not learn that growing up enough, and now I love experimenting and trying out how can I make a really mean coconut French toast now. I love that kind of thing. And just those little things, how do I experiment with this, that, and the other thing, and then to get outside and get your fingers in some dirt again. I'm taking on an aggressive gardening project this summer, but I would encourage you just get a tomato plant and put it in your windowsill or something to just try to see how nature creates the food that nourishes us so well and find some way to connect to that. So I agree with you. The fresh air, getting outside, all that stuff can clear your mental space and help you really focus on the importance of things in life.
And I think human beings have one side of us, which is creatures of comfort. We want things not to change, that are familiar to us, familiar foods. Oh, I've eaten that all my life. We've always eaten that way. It's our culture, it's our heritage, whatever. Those are hard mental things to overcome. But I want to show people the exciting rewards you can get.
Yeah.
You get creative. It's healthier for you. You can build muscle. Right. You can do things that are outside your box. And yes, they may be uncomfortable a little bit at first till you get to know them. But as you do get to know them and embrace them, they're fun, they're exciting, they get your brain going oh, what else can I put together? What else can I create?
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, just the simple fact that there are about a dozen basic animals that human beings eat: chicken, fish, pig, cow, lamb, whatever.
Yeah.
Yet there are 300,000 edible plants on this planet. Some estimates up to 600,000. I mean, like, we eat this many of them, you know.
That's right.
Like, the possibilities are there, and you know, most of the flavors: chocolate, vanilla, spices, herbs, hot, you know, all are plants.
I love to point out to the meat eaters that your meat always tastes better when it's been simmering in some vegetables as a seasoning for a while. So why don't you just skip
All
that?
the herbs and spices. I mean, it's all plants.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how is both your vision come to fruition? How has it evolved over time? And then what's next?
Yeah, I think we started off as the blog. We've got you know, the 30-day challenge now. We have we're in partnership with Glenn Mercer and his podcast. So he's part of our little network. And we just launched our 5th podcast, which is Real People Stories, stories about how people became vegan. So I have this vision of, like, if you're watching and you want to share your story, I know I'm going to get Geoff to do it, but like, come share your story. And I hope we can have like a collection of like 10,000 vegans and their stories that just showcases to people every single walk of life and stuff are coming this way. So that's the 5th podcast. My vision is to get to 7 podcasts. I'm hoping that there's a chef out there or a doctor or somebody that wants to help us, or a fitness person that wants to sort of come in, and we'll have a nice collection of every facet of the vegan life that you can get a little dose of it from. Want to continue helping you and others, you know, promote your businesses and grow. The bigger vision is getting there. I think we're still a little bit in our infancy. I'm excited to launch. We're hoping to launch a live event series in the next month or two of just some one-off deeper dives on some topics. So I'm really excited to just help continue to spread the word, the awareness of how important this lifestyle is, and hopefully we'll get to a point where we can have some bigger investments in plant-based startups and help them succeed in changing the world. So
that's awesome. And you know, I think people sometimes think, oh, changing the world. Well, we can't help not change the world. It's how do you want to change the world?
Yeah.
The world is changing constantly.
Yeah.
But you know, what changes do we want to create?
That's right.
So let's take a couple of the questions. Let me pull up the chat box.
I agree completely. It's out there for sure, ripe for change. I think we're coming in at a strong inflection point in the plant-based movement.
So Will asks, what have been your biggest obstacles in getting others to choose over familiar immediate gratification?
I think that's a struggle for everybody on this planet, especially in the society that we live in this instant gratification, Instacart, Netflix on demand kind of world that we live in. And gosh, I don't know, the thing for me, like, is, you know, I don't know, everywhere I go, there's definitely, I'm a chocoholic for sure. Everywhere I go, there's a piece of chocolate. You know what I mean? But like 9 times out of 10, that chocolate has milk in it. And so, you know, but it's one of those things that I know I've got some really awesome chocolate here at the house, kind of a thing. And I will skip that every chance I get, because I know I want to put the good fuel in my body a little bit later. So I enjoy challenging myself to delay that satisfaction and to sort of persevere and just try to figure that out. It's definitely not something that I have figured out the perfect answer for. I'd love to see what you think on that question, Geoff.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of focus, and rightfully so, because I think when people wake up to the realities, the harsh realities of the animal abuse that's in animal agriculture, it's horrific. It's like
Mm-hmm.
finding out about the Holocaust, and I'm no way comparing the human Holocaust to what animals go through. They're a different sentient being, but in a way, it is what they're going through.
Yeah.
And I mean, 90 billion animals mercilessly abused and slaughtered and raped. And if you don't understand the term rape is applicable in the dairy industry, if you don't, please Google that, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll actually see pictures of that. Baby chicks getting ground up. We've been seeing the horrors of that, and I get that. People, when they are awakened, are furious that they've been
Mm-hmm.
lied to for so long. It's
Yeah.
anger that a lot of people feel when they first realize what they've been, unknowingly been participating in.
That's right.
It's not, but I think we need to also leave room. We need to leave room for the anger, but we also need to leave room for saying, hey, look at these amazing things that plants do. Look at the positive effects on health, on fitness levels. Let's move beyond these fears that are limiting us and empowering us. If we can make it an empowerment movement, I think we can attract more people to it rather than being so dominantly about the negative side of what it is.
100%. Yeah. I mean, and you touched on something and reminded me of, I saw Molly Elwood. She runs Elwood Dog Meat.
Yes.
And you mentioned eating dog meat, and it just offends every American under the sun immediately. But she did some little live thing a couple weeks back where she was at, some speaking event. It was one of the people that helped create the cow, the best way to process a cow or something. And she got right up there and interviewed her, and she, what do you mean you're going to eat the dogs or something like that? And it was interesting to see her. No, you I'm not going to sign this. I'm not going to participate in this. That's too controversial. We can't have that topic too controversial. So we have normalized the killing of cows, but the killing of dogs is definitely not normalized. So it's that weird dichotomy. But ultimately that gratification question is a internal thing. And I think, you and I have both been through our depression parts of life and stuff. And we know that we didn't have that willpower, and we were probably taking instant gratification or ways to just hide our pain or whatever. And we've come through that enlightenment thing now. And I can say, like, I know what I want to do. And 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty good at sticking to my core beliefs and values. But it's hard. It's a challenging thing. We have to teach and rinse and repeat with our children in school, and reinforce that you have to figure out what your worldview is and your moral values are, and stick to them in as many situations as you possibly can. So.
And that's a great point. And we got a question or comment rather from Williams. I don't want to butcher your last name. Sorry, William, if you're watching. But about reteaching people, I'll put it up on the board. What do you think about reteaching botany for everyone? The power of the plants. I mean, the plants, human beings have developed a relationship with plants and fungi that our whole microbiome. We're human beings. When you look at the amazing physiology of human beings,
right,
we are imitating plants. So plants have their feet in the soil, and when we put our feet in the soil, our energy changes. That's been measurable. It's called grounding. Look up the science if you haven't seen it. They have their microbiome in the soil, right? All those microbes that break down the nutrients and feed them in the soil. Well, animals are mobile. So what we've done is taken that soil microbiome and put it inside of our body, and now that microbiome lives in our gut.
That's right.
We're imitating what the plant has, except we're mobile, where the plant is fixed. There's so many similarities there. And when we can reconnect with that, it's powerful.
Yes,
we can see that, and it goes back to the whole thing of all of the nutrients come from plants and microbes. Not a single nutrient required by human beings for survival. Not one comes exclusively from an animal.
That's right.
All of them are either created or originate in plants and in fungi, period. So the plants are it. The plants take the nutrients from the soil, the nitrogen and oxygen and carbon from the air, and the sunlight, and combine them together to make everything we need. So they combine earth, air, and fire, the sun, and take all of those and put it together for all of their nutrition for all of the animals on the planet.
That's right.
They are the kings of the living world. We need to get back to that sacredness of botany. And so, William, great question, great comment. Yes, we taught this in school.
100%. I would, and it's so interesting. Like, I do feel like as I went through my transformation towards vegan, it was eye-opening that I could be more aware of the stuff that I put in my body, how it affects me on every level. It gives me energy or whatever. And I just had a silly use case a couple days ago. I got this new matcha tea. I didn't think it had any caffeine in it whatsoever. And I made myself a cup of it like at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. And sure enough, I couldn't sleep. I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning because it did have caffeine in it. And I just assumed it didn't, kind of a thing. But like, you know, I don't think that would have had as much of an effect when I was eating the meat or something. But now I'm so much more aware of what I put in my body and the gut biome that I'm trying to create and nurture inside me. So I agree with William on a big point. Everybody needs to go and plant some flowers and vegetables and get back to figuring out what they can grow in their backyard or on their windowsill in some fashion or another.
Our interplay with the plant nutrients, phytonutrients, polyphenols, oh my God, an exploding amount of research in polyphenols only come from plants. They do not exist in the animal world. You cannot get them from eating any animal product.
That's right.
And fiber, and the whole fiber transition to metabolites of short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. Amazing for immune system, amazing for energy supply. We're getting up to 8 to 10% of our total body's energy from digesting the fiber into short-chain fatty acids and then used by it's like, you know, when you understand our relationship with plants, it's a whole different experience. You look at life differently. You look at food differently, and you look at your own health differently.
I almost feel like if you look at the doctor training programs that American doctors have to go through, we really need to go back to some of that basic stuff. Like, they should be forced to take that 10-week class on gardening. They should be forced to try out every diet under the sun for a month. And they need to have a lot more nutrition training on that front, because, you know, I have been in healthcare for quite a while, and I did get to work with a bunch of emergency room doctors way back when. And I asked them a lot of these questions, and the number one reason you end up in the emergency room is because of diet and exercise. The second reason is an accident, you know, of some sort, right? So you can't stop the accidents. Those are going to happen, but you can avoid, you know, the emergency room through diet and exercise. And that's what almost every doctor said to me, you know, almost unanimously. How do I avoid the emergency room? Diet and exercise. So,
and the science is saying it over and over and over again. It's just, we're not teaching that to people. And we're not teaching people the empowered choice. Hey, you get to make a decision about where you're going to be in 20, 30 years. Are you going to be suffering with diabetes and obesity and high blood pressure? And are you going to be on 10 drugs? You know, are you going to be suffering from life disorders, arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, brutal diseases? You know, that don't need to happen. I mean, there's a level of genetics, but please, people, stop using the genetic excuse. It's about 2 to 3% of the causation of it. And if you're born with those genetics, it doesn't even mean it's deterministic every single time. It can mean you have a propensity to do that, but you can still alter it. Remember, epigenetics, which means what we do, what we are, our activity levels, our emotional state of being and what we eat can turn on and off genes and change what they do. Our microbiome now, it's called a biome because it's talking about genetics, because there's so much genetics
Yeah.
involved in the microbiome. And those changes happen when we change our diet. This is an empowering story. It's not you have to do something. It's you get to do something that's going to result in better life for you.
That's right.
It's a
And
positive story.
and it's so true, because like I see it with my own kids in the sense of like, look, I need you to try this 15 times. Like once you try it 15 times, everybody loves nooch. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like your taste buds are going to change. You're going to come to it. You're going to feel like, we know what a cup of coffee does. We know what 1 or 2 glasses of wine do to our bodies. We can feel it almost instantly.
Yeah.
But you don't see what the consistent overdose of sodium does to you, or the lack of exercise for years and years and years. But it is very similar to caffeine or alcohol. It just takes longer to show up. So, think about that every time you reach for something, and, figure out the right path for you.
And how your body changes. My sister, who's a nurse, had to change to a pretty much salt-free diet for a short period of time because of the situation she had. And then when she tried salt again, it like burned her tongue.
Yeah.
Except we've become numb to that because we just over and over and over abuse it, that we don't even sense it anymore.
Yeah.
Drinking milk. I tell people this, I say, oh, do you drink milk? And I say, okay, eliminate dairy, cheese and milk from your diet for 2 weeks, and then drink a glass of milk and tell me what happens. 100% of the time, they're going to say their throat fills up with phlegm. It's mucus forming. Except you don't see that, because if you keep doing something, your body says, all right, well, you're not listening to me. I'm throwing up mucus to get you to stop, and you're not listening to me. I'm not going to waste any more energy, protein, in trying to do something if you're not stopping. So let me go into heal and repair from the damage you're doing by drinking this dairy. So it stops sending the signals to you. It's when you stop doing something and then reintroduce it, you can hear those signals all over again, and they're powerful. And it's like we're missing those because we've already numbed our bodies to not being responsive anymore.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and if you look at any of the blood tests, the MRT or whatever those kinds of blood tests are, you'll find out. I know I took one a few years back, and for me it was really weird because I am the vegan, right? It was spinach. Spinach was off the chart, and I once they showed me that result, and then I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. Whenever it just clicked and this whole world fell into place. But after the MRT test I took, it basically said, like, look, let's go back to, the basic rice and whatever diet, and let's reintroduce things over a 3-4 week period, and you'll find the ones that trigger you. And so we forget how over the past, say, 150 years, how much we've evolved our food on our plate. Because before it was 2 or 3 ingredients, and now you sit down on your plate and you honestly look at it, and it's probably 20 ingredients sourced from all over the world, and we have no clue which is affecting our personal biomes in a certain way. So we got to get back to some basics there of experimenting and figuring out what our personal things are. I now, it's funny because as a vegan, I go to the family whatever at the restaurant, and they go, the only choice is spinach and pasta, kind of a thing. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing the spinach, so give me the pasta if we need to. But yeah, there's some choices out there for sure.
And it's a wonderful part of reconnecting to your body and learning from your own biofeedback, instead of walking around in a dumbed down, numbed body that's not even responsive anymore. It's exciting to feel your body. It's like a friend of mine who'd been raw vegan for like 15 years, and picked up a glass thinking it was water because he got something in his throat. And it was a glass of white vinegar that somebody had just poured for cleaning, and he drank it, and it literally scorched his throat, burned his throat, because he hadn't had something of that refinedness And that's how responsive his body had become to things that don't belong there.
Amazing. Yeah.
So it's amazing what we can do when we bring our body back to a very sensitive, very vital state. Some people say, oh, look, he can't handle that now. No, that's a vital reaction. That means your body is responding. If it's not responding to you, that's a sick body.
Right.
If you do something bad and you don't get a response, that's your body already in a sick state that it's too taxed to even respond.
That's
it's
right.
when it responds. Like people say, oh, when you get something, you get like violently ill really quick. And I said, yeah, and I heal really quick too. And that's a good thing. That's my body being vitally responsive to a negative to let me know clearly, don't do that.
That's right.
And then healing it very quickly too as well. When you deaden the response, you may not get that immediate vital response, but it'll take a lot longer for your body to respond in healing as well.
Yeah. So true. Yep.
So you got some great information on your podcast with so many different podcasts now and more to come. How can people, one, get connected with you and watch some of these podcasts and blogs and stuff? Tell the people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's all at realmeneatplants.com. You can check out all of the podcasts there and subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll stay up to date with us on that front. And we have such a wide variety of amazing guests, and Geoff comes on all the time and supports us. So thank you, Geoff, for your contributions.
My pleasure. I love what you're doing, and I hope folks turn out. Some of these conversations are really dynamic, and even just tag, to see if you can contribute or whatever. Maybe
Absolutely,
be a guest on the podcast.
We're really trying to make an open platform. So if you feel passionate about a certain topic, we would love to have you reach out to us. We will figure out an episode. We'll pull in a few people to talk about that topic and just try and help people unpack it. I mean, I think we were talking the other day, just off the air, we'll record this episode sooner or later about sleep and how important sleep is or not important it is and stuff. And so we're going to do a whole episode on sleep just to try and address that in the future. If you know some people that want to have a friendly debate, we've got the plant versus meat one. I'm always looking for guests there. And then the plant-based on fire one is really the business podcast. So, if you want to learn more about different businesses or get some tips on how you can start your plant-based business, check out that podcast and reach out to us for that one as well.
And listen, folks, I want to say this is not your typical YouTube yelling match of people just denigrating each other or anything like that. This is real educated debate, real serious conversation with the goal of let's find what's best for humanity. What's the best thing that we can contribute and pass along to other people so that we can all enjoy a life that with less suffering, with more health and more happiness. And that's our goal. It's not a us or them. It's not a polar opposites trying to beat each other up, saying you're right and I'm wrong. It's not about that. It's let's together talk it out. Let's discuss the ideas that we're concerned about. And there's good, as long as we can keep the conversation conversational, and not attack the individual, but address the ideas, the concepts, the actions.
That's right.
I think Gandhi said, if we can learn to see that we are not the enemy, that ideas can change over time, that we can address these as people working together to bring together and bring out the best ideas for all humanity.
That's awesome. What a great quote.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I look forward to having you back, as I always love talking with you. It's a great conversation. And check out Bryan's podcasts, Real Men Eat Plants, Plant-Based on Fire, and soon to be
Plants versus Meat and the real people stories. So yeah, we've got some great ones. It's been a pleasure, Geoff. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Well, join me again next week. I'll have more research and studies on the best in plant-based fitness and nutrition.